So, pro licensed coach, had 8 years, wonderful years, working in Scandinavia at 3 really big clubs, and that really was my education as a coach. Met some great people, but also encountered some wonderful opportunities to develop as a coach and realise exactly the key things which do maximise players' performances. As you can probably tell from the accent, I am from the Midlands, live only 30 minutes away, so this absolutely was the first opportunity for me that felt right. There has been other clubs in the last 3 years. From the moment I started having the discussions with a vast range of people at Banbury, it just felt right for so many reasons. The last few years have been invaluable to me to learn a lot about Step 2, Step 3 football and the local scene. It's complemented my personal and professional situation really well. I think the key thing is to learn from people who've been involved at the level, both players, coaches, administrators, and the challenges that come at this level compared to higher levels. I think the one thing for me is the importance of relationships and understanding the expectations that players have and the desire for them to play at this level. There's obviously a huge number of variables for players playing at any level, and it's easy to talk about the player, but the one thing behind every player is the person, and the importance of relationships for me is the starting point. My job essentially is to understand every player, and to form that relationship allows me to identify ways where that player can feel trusted, can feel empowered, can feel like they can express themselves, and also find ways which can take their career forward at whatever stage they're at. Understanding the challenges of Step 2, Step 3 football, but then being able to adapt the insight and the knowledge that I've encountered from working with different people who've been really successful at this level and higher, to understand ways where we can actually implement those kind of things here at Banbury with the lads. So over the next few weeks, we're really looking to capitalise on the plans that are already in place in terms of the pre-season structure. The playing squad obviously is the priority, and that work has started already in the background. The focus then turns to pre-season, and we've got a 7-week build-up towards the 3rd of August. A number of pre-season games are already planned, but it'll be essentially a 2-week build-up before we introduce the players to games, and then it'll be a phased introduction to the number of game time, minutes, intensity, hopefully with the target of getting the players absolutely ready for the start of the season. But as we know, trophies aren't given out in August and September, so it will be a case of understanding where players are at and looking at ways then from the 3rd of August to continually look at ways to improve performances, maximise abilities, so it'll be very much a starting point. But that's our first focus, is that first weekend in August, the 3rd of August. Honestly, when I drove home at the M40, my feeling was really positive, and that was important for me to experience and get a real feel for. You don't get that insight from a VO or a Y-Scout footage. I think we all knew the fate at that point had been sealed for the players. It wasn't to judge the players. What struck me was the knowledgeable fans, the connection with the fans, the loyalty to the club. I stood on the far side behind us, and then I stood behind the goal for the second half, just to listen to what the fans were saying, and it was really powerful. And I could see that the respect, the empathy, the loyalty that the fans had, that was what I felt as I left. Everything was very, very respectful and really considered what they were saying, and that for me gave real hope. It was very much in the early stages of obviously the recruitment process for this. It was part of my due diligence to get a feel for the club. I wasn't interested in the result. I found it fascinating at half time. There was a lot of talk about the youth team, youth setup, and that's great. With the 18s being in the final next week at Rugby Borough, I think it's wonderful. There was a lot of talk about certain players. I was really inspired when I saw Lewis and Zach come on in the second half. I thought that was fantastic, and the energy they brought to the game. It was a really important afternoon for me, and it kind of sealed my understanding of where the club was at. I was speaking to the supporters. They're very knowledgeable, very committed to the club, and it was a real high level of respect and connection between supporters, and that all goes well for the future. Throughout this process, I've been inspired not just by the ambition of the club, but the morals, the values, and the quality of the people I've met across the board. Obviously with Wayne, with Terry, both from the initial communications with Katie, with Lisa, with Claire, with Ryan, with Mike, and with Matty, and some of the other staff who are currently in place. It just feels that my morals and values are really aligned to them, and the most important thing in any club or team is the relationships. And I think if we foster those on and off the field together, then it gives us an even better chance to get the results that ultimately we all want. The key thing for me is the people at the club. That's what makes, and that's the supporters, the support staff, the board, and I'm thrilled and very much looking forward to just being an integral part of that and bringing the things that I've learned to hopefully for the whole club to benefit. I appreciate my journey's been rather different to most coaches. I took the decision 10 years ago to go abroad, to come back in a more informed situation. I think when you do step away from your comfort zone, you learn a lot about yourself. I was dealing with players who were both very much on a par with step 2, step 3 players, and also players who had ambitions to play at a high level. I was in a foreign country. We had great success with players' development models, and that's something that I then adopted as I spent my 8 years in Sweden, and then took that with me to Norway and Denmark. That's something that I've seen the benefit of with players here, and it's something that over the last 2 or 3 years I've been able to implement with clubs in different guises at step 2, step 3, step 4. And it's learning from what's been successful at step 1, step 2, step 3, and really bringing it all together to give the players who represent the club the best opportunity to perform. If they do that, the team plays better, I look a better coach, but we look as though we've got a better club as well, and it all fits together very nicely for me to really harness those relationships, tap into everybody's knowledge, and all find ways to maximise the ability of the players we've got here.